And joining me now is one of my newsmakers tonight, former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah joins me for his reactions to that Supreme Court judgment. Appreciate your joining us, Omar Abdullah. There's a belief that today is a political victory for the centre and a big defeat for the valley-based parties who have been constantly campaigning against the abrogation of Article 370. Would you concede defeat after this Supreme Court judgment?
It's a defeat for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. It's a defeat for those people who believe that sovereign commitments that form the basis of accession, the people who believe that those should be upheld. It's a defeat for those people. It's not personally my defeat. It's not personally the defeat of just the National Conference. This was never about us. It's about Jammu and Kashmir. It's about the commitments that were made to the people of Jammu and Kashmir in 1947. So to that extent, yes, we've all lost. It's our collective loss, and no doubt it's a victory for the union government. It's a victory for the BJP, but that's the way it is.
No, the court was very specific, for example, in saying Jammu and Kashmir retained no sovereignty after accession to India. Article 370 was a temporary provision. I mean, these are, this has been for the longest time what Kashmir leaders, including yourself, your party, have claimed when demanding special status. So, in a sense, your entire arguments have been hollowed out, some would say, by the Supreme Court.
Well, Rajdeep, it's convenient that you take these words of the Supreme Court but forget the words that had been used in judgments prior to this. In prior judgments of three judge benches, 370 was upheld. The special status of Jammu and Kashmir was upheld. The permanency of 370 was upheld in cases like Sampath Prakash versus the Union and many others that we cited in our case this time. So, yes, I accept that this time we weren't able to convince 5 judges, but in the past we have convinced the Supreme Court of the relevance of our arguments. And who knows, going ahead, we may get the opportunity to change the mind of the Honorable Supreme Court the way they changed their mind this time compared to previous judgments. So, yes, it's a setback. We are disappointed, but we're not disheartened. And the struggle doesn't end. And why should it? I mean, did the BJP stop struggling when the Sampath Prakash judgment came? Did the BJP stop struggling when the Supreme Court upheld 370 and said that it was permanent? They didn't stop struggling then. So why should we be expected to end our struggle because of this setback?
Because in a sense that there is a belief now that there's no turning back. The Home Minister today in Parliament also was very clear. In fact, he went to the extent of saying Article 370 almost incentivized terrorism. This notion of separateness, of special status was seen, according to the Home Minister Amit Shah, as a reason for militancy, for terror, for a demand for a independent Jammu and Kashmir. So, let's be very clear. This government is very clear. It's not turning back. As long as the BJP is in a majority in Parliament, it's not turning back. And the Supreme Court today has said Parliament is free to make these decisions.
Have you given up on democracy, Rajdeep? Have you sort of made peace with the notion that the BJP will rule India forever and that we will never have a government other than the BJP at the centre? I haven't made peace with that notion. I believe that governments come and governments go. Yes, today the BJP reigns supreme. They have the upper hand. But this won't be the first government to lose an election when it does eventually happen. And who knows? I mean, did you see this day coming a few years ago? You didn't. So how do you know what the future has in store for us?
No, no one has any idea what the future has in store, Omar Abdullah. I'm only discussing the present.
To say that it's all over.
No, I know no one knows what the future holds. I'm looking at it from the present. You've had a unanimous verdict from the Supreme Court. Exactly. You've got a majority government which is today feeling validated by what the court has said. So I have to look at the situation as it exists today.
Sure. And I'm looking at the situation as it existed in the past and as it existed today. We've had unanimous judgments of the Supreme Court in the past as well. You've had governments with their own majorities in the past as well. So it is quite possible that this sort of a situation will reverse in the days to come. So why would you expect me to give up and suggest that what has happened today is irreversible or irrevocable? If the Supreme Court could change its mind between the Sampath Prakash judgment and today, I'd like to assume that there is a possibility that we can perhaps some future Supreme Court, we can convince them or we can convince the rest of the country of our political arguments. I mean, the BJP struggled for more than 50 years to get to where it has today. So, I mean, why would you expect us to give up our struggle? We believe we are right. The BJP believes it's right. So fine, we'll agree to disagree with each other. As far as 370 being the root cause of terrorism is concerned, look, Razi, let me finish. You can either blame Pakistan or you can blame 370. If 370 was the root cause of terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir, then terrorism should have started in 1947, not in 1987. For 40 years prior to 87, you still had 370, but you had no terrorism. And even now, okay, so it's been 4 years, you've revoked Article 370 or you've hollowed it out. It still forms part of the Constitution, but you've hollowed it out. Does terror not exist in Jammu and Kashmir today? So if 370 was the root cause of terror in Jammu and Kashmir, terror should have ended. Why is it that just day before yesterday, we buried a brave police officer of J&K police? Why is it just days before that, we've seen army officers killed? You've seen senior army officers killed in encounters in places like Kokarnag. You've seen Rajouri sort of go up again in the clutches of severe and serious militant encounters. So let's not, I mean, either 370 is to blame or Pakistan is to blame. I mean, tell us which one it is.
Okay, Omar Abdullah, I want to quote to you what Karan Singh, senior Congress leader Maharaja Hari Singh's son, has said today. A section of people in Jammu and Kashmir who will be not happy with this judgment, my sincere advice is they should accept the inevitable and they should accept the fact that now this has been done. Now my suggestion is they should turn their energies towards fighting the next elections. Fight the next elections, and there is a promise also that not only will elections be held soon, but statehood will also be restored.
No, your audio is crackling, but look, I have all respect and regard for Dr. Karan Singh, but look, he's chartered his own course, we'll chart ours. If he has no love lost for his own forefathers' legacy, then there's nothing much I can say about that. Look, I mean, it's pretty unfortunate that Dr. Karan Singh in his own lifetime has seen Jammu and Kashmir dismembered, a Jammu and Kashmir that was put together by his forefathers. It wasn't put together by my forefathers. The map of erstwhile Jammu and Kashmir as it existed before 5th August 2019 was a legacy of the royal family of Jammu and Kashmir. I mean, if he doesn't want to own that legacy or he's happy to see it sort of washed away, then so be it. But with all due respect to him, he's decided what he has decided. We will decide what we want to, and that's it. Now, as far as elections are concerned, this fight wasn't about elections. We would have got our elections one way or the other. The Supreme Court has given a timeline. Fair enough. That's something we can work towards. As far as statehood is concerned, again, it was a cop-out. Why was the? I mean, if the Supreme Court could talk about a timeline for elections, why no timeline for statehood? Why at the earliest? What do you mean by at the earliest? At the earliest, who is to decide at the earliest? At the earliest could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, depending upon the mood of the government at the center. I'm sorry. I mean, this statehood should be restored at the earliest was just a cop-out by the Supreme Court.
There is one statement by the Supreme Court that intrigued me. Justice calls for the setting up of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Would you support such an idea if tomorrow the centre was to say, let's have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to heal the wounds of the valleys, whether they are of Kashmiri Muslims or Kashmiri Pandits? Would you support it?
Well, I mean, I'd like to believe that Justice Kaul has read some blog posts of mine from when people used to actually blog rather than tweet or put stuff on Instagram. because I had talked about a Truth and Reconciliation Commission for Jammu and Kashmir way back in the early 2000s. So perhaps somewhere Justice Kaul has seen something that I've written or something that I've said, and included it in his judgment today. I've been an old advocate of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and I'll always support one, with the caveat that a Truth and Reconciliation Commission that doesn't look into things that have happened on the other side of the line of control, things that have happened in Pakistan or the parts of Jammu and Kashmir that are controlled by Pakistan, will be an incomplete Truth and Reconciliation Commission. But if we have to start with one set up only by the government of India, so be it. Let's go forward from there.
One final question. You're saying you're going to fight for what you believe are the rights of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Do you believe that maybe you're out of touch with the people of Jammu and Kashmir, that the people of Jammu and Kashmir have moved on? Article 370 is now the past. They want to see a Naya Kashmir. They want to see a Naya Kashmir based on faster economic growth and more inclusivity.
Happen. Fine. They've seen no economic growth and no inclusivity. They've seen rubbish. They've seen absolutely nothing since 5th August 2019. They've seen hollow promises and lies. That's all that has happened.
They've seen relative peace.
Since the 5th of August 2019.
They've seen relative peace, and they've seen a boom in the tourism industry. They've seen, Omar Abdullah, it cannot be completely as if it's only been a period of darkness the last 4 years. There have been some positive development, surely.
Yeah, other than the tourism, can you tell me what else? Because the tourism is confined to Srinagar, Gulmarg and Pahalgam, perhaps a bit of Sonmarg. Okay, so the entire valley lives far beyond these places. So other than the slight increase in the number of tourists, would you care to point me towards one other thing that has changed for the better for the people of Jammu and Kashmir? You were talking about inclusivity and economic development.
Stone pelting no longer takes place on the street. We do not see those images of stone pelting. We do not see those images of violence and hartals.
I've already agreed that this government has been able to suppress that. I have no problem in accepting that. When this government can lock me up, they can lock anybody up. So I'm willing to accept that. You were talking about economic development and inclusivity. I'm asking you to point me towards that.
Okay. Omar Abdullah.
And you said the people have moved on and I'm out of touch. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see, Rajdeep. There is an election. By this time next year, we will have had an election. By September at the latest, unless this government finds some reason not to have an election. Let's see who's out of touch. We'll talk when the results come out.
Okay. Omar Abdullah, for speaking your mind out, I appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much.